Hey, what's up, you beautiful souls? This is Chase Speegle with Chase Way, and today I want to talk to you about this video that came upon my YouTube algorithm. It's a video of Bashar speaking with YouTuber Aaron Doughty. It's fascinating because you get to see a younger Aaron speaking with Bashar, and you can see how he's applied these concepts to his own life and how it has really shaped and transformed him into the huge success he is today. It's amazing. It's inspiring. The biggest thing they both talk about is following your excitement or following your highest passions. And I think that's really important because it acts as a guiding compass. You follow your highest excitement to the best of your ability, and it'll take you to your destination. Let's go ahead and get into the video though, and I'll let them talk for a moment. I'll come back in a sec.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
All right. Well, I have a couple questions today. Last time I spoke with you, we spoke about belief and enlightenment.
Yes, I believe that's true.
Yes. And when we were talking about it, what you were saying was that enlightened people such as Buddha or Krishna or Jesus, they went beyond belief and into knowing of themselves.
Yes.
So kind of playing on that, like after we had that conversation, I read the book Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yes.
And in it, he talks about some of his experiences with enlightened people in India.
Yes.
And some of those experiences included, making objects manifest instantly, or it included levitation.
Yes.
What belief, like they would understand?
Knowing.
So they would know that reality is an illusion.
Yes.
So because it's an illusion, they don't need any beliefs to then impose upon reality. So is it their will that could materialize an object instantly, or?
You can call it will, but it's again just a knowing. In other words, it's an observation. It's an understanding of how things work.
Right.
In the same way that you might look at a red rose and I would say, well, what color is it? And you will go, well, it's red. It's not an opinion. It's not a belief, it's an observation. Mm-hmm. You just know that it's red. Therefore, it's not about imposing will, it's just about knowing the reality and knowing what it can be.
Right. So when I'm thinking about this, when it comes to the belief systems, because it seems like when you're following your passion, which is normally the answer to a lot of the questions that are the formula.
It's the primary formula, yes.
However, at a certain point, it seems that would be also coming from maybe not just an ego perspective, but does enlightenment include the ego, or is it just using the ego?
The ego is nothing more than a mask that allows you to perceive manifestations of physical reality. That's all the ego is. If you're referring to the negative ego, that's a different story. But the ego is just a diving mask that allows you to see clearly in the environment that you've dove into.
I see. So, okay.
It's a pass-through structure.
So what would be... So the process, if we were to talk about enlightenment as a process, so some of the people that may have gone through and had enlightenment, like the people spoken about in Autobiography of a Yogi, what would a process like that look like? They just have this
realization? It can look like almost anything, because each and every one of you has a unique process.
Okay.
So it can look like whatever works for you. Now, some people will follow generalized cultural processes that might work for many of them because they understand they're part of that culture. It's their reference point, and therefore they know that that's the permission slip that can work best for them. But again, it still comes down to an individual way of doing that. Even though they may be following the dictates of a culture, they're still going to do it their way. There might be a very slight difference, but a difference there will be because they're a different person.
So for that process, most of it would be awareness.
Awareness of what reality really is, awareness that you're creating it, awareness of how it works, understanding what we call the instruction manual, so that when you understand it as an observation of the structure of existence, then it's not a mystery that by following the instructions, things happen, because that's the way it works. It's that level of knowing. It's that level of understanding. It's that level of seeing what is.
What would be a process to get to that state?
Follow your passion.
Okay.
Because
I love this part of the video and how Bashar just immediately goes back to follow the formula, because it's that powerful. Act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability. Take it as far as you can with zero expectations on outcome. Take it as far as you can, and then eventually it'll point you to a new direction for an even higher excitement. So just keep following that process.
that brings you through synchronicity whatever information you need to continue toward the idea of full enlightenment. It's a self-guiding, self-perpetuating, self-navigating, self-expanding formula that will allow you to realize your full potential of enlightenment and awareness.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
The second subject I wanted to talk about, are you familiar with a book in our collective consciousness called Reality Transurfing?
Define.
It's a book written by a quantum physicist named Vadim Zeland. It has to do with understanding how to shift through parallel realities, knowing that the parallel reality we want to shift to already exists.
Yes. Because you're doing it anyway.
Yes.
That's how you create the side effect called time.
Yes. And in the book, there is this concept of what are called pendulums. Now,
Yes.
A pendulum is a thought structure or an idea that many people within a collective conditioning may be thinking of. So, for example, if you're a Republican or you're Democrat, these would both represent pendulums because whether you agree with them or disagree with them,
Yes.
you're becoming part of a thought structure that has a
Yes.
gravitational pull on you.
Yes.
So-
Because you allow it to do so.
Yes. So my question is these pendulums, I guess I would like a little bit more clarification as to these pendulums, how they would have, do thoughts actually have form?
In a sense, they do have momentum.
This part of the talk is also fascinating. Well, they're talking about reality transurfing and the idea of thought pendulums. Because I've been finding myself getting pulled into these thought pendulums, speaking on politics a lot over the last month. It is election season, and there's a lot of bullshit out there. So it can pull you in easily. And when it does, it pulls you away from your highest excitement and your passions. Unless that's your thing. Like, unless you do political commentary as a job, that might be perfect for you. That might be your highest excitement. For me, it's been draining. It's been low vibration. It's been negative overall. Like, I still hold my beliefs and my convictions. That's not changing. But seeing myself get pulled into these, like, clickbait type of debates, it's just not worth it. So recognizing these pendulums and pulling your energy back to yourself and redirecting it back into your highest excitement, your highest passions, it's really important. So just recognize when that's happening. Recognize anytime a pendulum that is not your thought structure, but a high energy container that is full of the collective consciousness beliefs, it's not yours. So put it back.
Okay.
And therefore, when you allow yourself to repeat, if you will, over and over and over again, a particular path, a particular thought form, a particular structure, it does build up in physical reality the concept of a momentum. For example, in our society, at this point in our evolution, We are so oriented to the concept of understanding the structure of existence and experiencing synchronicity in every single thing we do that it is now actually a challenge. It would be an effort to overcome the inertia of that direction in order to actually have a negative experience.
Wow.
So yes, it does build up, because that's one of the definitions of physical reality, is that there is mass and energy. And therefore it has momentum. It has inertia.
Okay, so
That's what the pendulum is about. Building up a sense of inertia or mass that then may seem to make things difficult to swing in a different direction, because that's one of the definitions you have bought into of physical reality. You have called it the idea of laws of motion.
I love how clear and articulate Aaron is when explaining the concepts of reality transurfing to Bashar, even though Bashar understands or knows the concepts on a fundamental level. It's funny to just see how well he can explain these concepts. That's something I aspire to do. Like, sometimes I have trouble getting the words to come from my brain to my mouth articulately. So I guess that takes reps as well.
there's when I was reading about this idea in the book, something kind of came to me, because sometimes when I'm listening to certain songs via music,
Yes.
if I'm listening to a certain song that I feel like in the collective consciousness, millions of other people have listened to that same song and maybe
Yes.
generated a certain emotion,
Yes.
I feel like I can almost pick up on the thoughts of those people.
Yes, of course you can, but it's not that you're picking up on their thoughts. It's that you're in the same frequency and having the same thoughts at the same time because of the thoughts that go with that frequency. Because you're putting
see.
yourself in a certain state. That's why we say telepathy is not reading someone else's mind.
Right.
It's being on the same wavelength and having the same thoughts at the same time synchronistically.
I see.
That's how that works.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does that answer your question?
It does. One other thing I wanted to touch on with the pendulum idea is
Yes.
understanding, you touched on it earlier with archetypes.
Yes.
The archetypes within our collective consciousness.
Yes.
If we are unaware of the archetypes, do the archetypes still have power, not over us, but do they still influence us? Because we've
They
incarnated.
can, depending upon the level of unawareness that you have agreed to abide by. So in other words, if you're simply saying it's okay for them to have that influence because I don't really need to know about it, I'm running on automatic because I need to pay attention to other things, then yes, the so-called influence can be built into the structure. But there can be levels where you simply realize that there is no influence at all, whether you're aware or unaware of it, because that's what you've chosen as a theme.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily relevant for influence from that particular archetype, at least not in any major way that would be discernible in your life.
I see.
But generally, you have agreed to play by the overall rules of the game. We often use chess as an analogy for your people because it's a game you're familiar with. You may say, well, I'm going to play chess, therefore I have to abide by the rules of chess, otherwise I'm not playing that game. But you don't necessarily have to pay attention. Once you understand the rules, you can focus on other things. You can focus on what kind of pieces you're using, what they're made of, what your strategy is, so on and so forth, without necessarily having to pay attention to the rules anymore because they're so ingrained that it's automatic. It's sort of like that.
I see. Thank you. And then
I like Bashar's chess analogy here. Another analogy that I would use would be akin to driving a car. Eventually, you just know how to do it unconsciously, and you follow the signs and signals without even thinking, while you're thinking about other things like what you're going to have for dinner or the meeting that you have later in the day, anything like that. Hey guys, well, I hope you appreciate my commentary on this video. If you do like it, please let me know in the comments, hit like. I created a little free tool for you. The link is in the comments and in the description. It is a productivity permission slip. So it's just literally a go button with a timer that puts you into flow state. So once you hit go, you enter flow state. Let me know if it works for you. Thanks. Have a great day. Peace.